us, so I'll pass the floor to Liviu and to Dragos.
Thank you, Dan. My name is Liviu German. I'm working for AWS covering sales for Romanian customers. We just opened the office in Bucharest end of last year. And Dragos, I let him introduce himself. He will be the one that is delivering the content today.
But do we have Dragos?
He's on mute, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hi everyone.
Hi. Hi, Dragos.
Hi everyone. So good evening. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Dan and Liviu. Okay, let me actually start by sharing my screen. Can everyone hear me okay?
Crystal.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I understand you are doing as part of this semester a course on big data and machine learning. So I was asked to say a few words about our services. But before I do that, let me just give you an agenda of what I want to talk about today. So just a few words about Amazon and AWS. As Liviu said, we opened an office in Romania, and this is quite interesting. And then I'll briefly mention some of the services in this space, big data and machine learning. And if we still have time, I would maybe also show you one of our cool projects called Amazon SageMaker. So this is a service that allows anyone, not just data scientists, to do machine learning. So just a few words about myself. My name is Dragos. I'm a solution architect at AWS. I've been working in the company for over 5 years now. I kind of traveled a little bit, but now I'm back in Romania. My focus is on clients from Romania, but also the wider CE region, meaning Poland, Hungary, Bulgaria, and so forth. I also work with clients from a lot of different segments, both large and smaller maybe clients, and also sometimes with non-profit organizations that want to use our services. If you want to email me, I will have my email address at the end of the presentation, and I'm looking forward, and hopefully this is going to be an interesting topic for you. All right. So just maybe I want to spend like a minute or two to talk about Amazon and Amazon Web Services, AWS. So a lot of people don't know the distinction between the two, or maybe think that it's the same thing. Amazon is the part of the company that deals with e-commerce, right? So the largest online retailer, and this is where you buy your products from, right? And AWS is a company within the larger Amazon that has essentially services in the IT space, right? So cloud computing is something that started with AWS, I can say. Although we're part of Amazon, we have different things. So we don't. We talk to colleagues from Amazon, but we're not essentially the same company in a way. All right. So Liviu mentioned that we have some offices in Romania, and we actually have two of them. The larger one and the older one is in Iași. This was opened in 2005, so it's quite old. Actually one of the older sites in Europe that we have, and teams here essentially work on developer tools. And one of the services, the public service that people in Iași worked on is Amazon Simple Email Service, SES. So this is a service that allows you to send emails And you know, in the beginning, when this product was developed, it was being worked on in Yash. Most of the other things that teams in Yash work on are not something that are public facing, but they are, the site is very important nonetheless. I have some numbers here for number of employees. So I would say that now 2021, it's probably over 300 people that are employed there. So it's quite a big achievement to have this office open in Yash. Besides the office in Yash, we also opened a development center in Bucharest. This one is a little bit more recent, so it was opened in 2016. Here, teams work on one of our larger products, actually, or service, Amazon EC2. So this is the service that allows you to run instances, virtual machines on the AWS cloud. And then here specifically, they work on another service that is called Firecracker. This is an open source project, actually, and this is in turn being used by other services in Amazon Web Services like AWS Lambda. As of 2019, there were over 30 developers working in that office. Now I would say it's a lot more than that. And we are hiring if you're interested. There's a lot of open positions both in Bucharest and Yash. So you know, if and I know, for example, the Amazon Development Center also has some programs with universities such as yourself. So you know, if you're interested, just write to me on Teams or just email me, and maybe we can have a chat. All right. Perfect. So just a few words about AWS machine learning. So it's my understanding that you've already been studying frameworks such as Spark and Hadoop. And the service that we have that covers these use cases is called Amazon EMR, Elastic MapReduce. So this is a service that allows you to run different types of frameworks such as Spark, Hadoop, Hive, Presto, and so forth, using our cloud infrastructure. We typically are quite fast to update to the latest versions of these platforms. So if there's like a new feature in Hadoop, we try to get that to our users as fast as possible. It also allows you to run distributed computing at a very low cost. So there's various ways to reduce the amount of money that you pay to run these clusters, and you can actually reduce it by up to 80% sometimes. It's a service, it's a managed service, so there is I would say, you know, very little or as much as little as possible for you to configure. So there is no kind of cluster setup you need to do, no sort of node provisioning or tuning. These are things that we automate as much as possible to allow you to focus on what you want to you know, run on the cluster. The other beautiful thing about Amazon EMR is that it allows you to scale the compute part, so where you do the processing, the actual processing from the storage, right? So it might be the case that you don't actually need a lot of storage. There isn't a lot of data that you're running the processing on, but you need a huge number of instances to like nodes to do the processing. So you can scale the compute layer essentially, or it might be the other way around, right? You don't need a lot of nodes, but you need a lot of storage to store the data for that. And here this is where you would typically use Amazon S3. So this is a service that allows you to store objects like files at a very good price, right? I don't go into too many details. I'm kind of conscious of time. I do recommend that you review some of the services that I mentioned here. And by the way, I will also give you this presentation at the end. There will be a link where I'll put this slide deck, so you can review it later on. So this is the service that I mentioned, S3. It allows you to store any kind of objects like files, images, zip archive, pictures, video, anything like that, with a very high durability. So once you upload the file into S3, there is essentially no way for that file to get corrupted or lost or anything like that. You have very great durability with S3. Okay. If you're familiar with how Hadoop or Presto or Hive or all of these frameworks work, then you'll see that EMR is essentially the same. So the way that this product works is that you create a cluster, and within that cluster you have 3 types of nodes. So there is the master node, and this is the node that manages the cluster itself and tracks all the tasks that are happening. You can actually have more than one, so you should have more than one, so it's not a single point of failure. Then there are the core nodes over here. So these are nodes that run the tasks and store the data in the Hadoop file system itself. And then finally, you have the actual workers. So these are nodes that run tasks but do not store the data in Hadoop. And this is maybe optional if you don't want to use them. Any questions maybe on EMR? If not, I'll also open for questions at the end. And if it's easy, if it's easier, just write me a question on Teams, and I'll try to read those and answer at the end.
Hello, is it okay if I ask a question right now?
Sure, go ahead.
I would like to know, how does Amazon EMR use Amazon EC2 and Amazon S3?
Yeah, so under the hood, when you run these nodes, like the master node or the worker nodes, there are EC2 instances that automatically get created. And this is where the actual processing runs on, right? S3 is used to store all the files that you need for that processing. So it's a very good way to have files being stored in just one place and accessible to all the nodes. All the results from the nodes, once they finish processing, get uploaded in S3, and then you have all the results there. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So write to me on Teams if you have any sort of questions. I'll go back to Teams at the end and try to answer those for you. All right. So changing topics a little bit. I know this is another hot topic, machine learning. And here I just want to spend some time to talk about our service called Amazon SageMaker, and we say that this is a service that allows every data scientist or developer to do machine learning. With regards to how we see the machine learning ecosystem, we kind of see or the AI, artificial intelligence space, we see three types of stacks, or this is how we kind of think about things. And apologies if this this slide is like very heavy. I'll try and break this down for you. So starting from the bottom up. We have what we call frameworks that allow you to do machine learning. So these are things that I'm sure you would have worked with before. So TensorFlow, PyTorch, MXNet. These are frameworks that we support, and if you're already, let's say, using this for your projects, it's very easy to run those in Amazon Web Services as well. And we're always looking at what's happening in the market. So if for example there is another framework that suddenly becomes popular, then we'll always try to implement it or give it to our users, right?
Dragoș, just a question here, please. TensorFlow suggests to me something related to macromolecular chemistry. Do you know if it's usable for this area?
Yeah. So either of these, TensorFlow, MXNet, these are frameworks. You can use them for a variety of cases. I would say for about 2 years now, I've actually seen PyTorch being the most popular one because it's based on Python and it's quite easy to use. But yeah, you can use whatever works best for your use case.
Thanks.
All right. Maybe exploring the other parts. So we also have this ability to run these different types of machine learning algorithm on graphical processing units, GPUs, right? So there are certain use cases where you want to run that processing on a GPU card because it decreases the time or increases the performance. So you also have this ability to get like a network card, a graphical card attached to your workloads.
And this would be probably because you want, for example, to look at a lot of pictures or video images.
Yeah. So that's like typical use cases where you want to do some kind of analysis and a GPU helps. So here and NVIDIA cards are more and more widely used. So yeah. And that's not all. Like you can use GPU to accelerate your machine learning algorithm for other cases as well.
Blockchain.
Well, yeah. I maybe didn't want to, say that, but yeah, that's also another use case for GPU cards. All right, so moving up in the stack, I would say the next kind of type of services that we have is what we call machine learning services, and this is where SageMaker kind of sits. So the way that we think of SageMaker, it's like a studio, machine learning studio, if you want, and it gives you, everything that you need to run machine learning workloads. So these are maybe some features that we released quite recently, meaning December of last year. But as you can see, you can do a lot of things with SageMaker. So starting from help to label your data, aggregate it, prepare it for further processing. Maybe when you get to the point where you actually have a model, it helps you train that model, maybe tune some sort of parameters so you get better results, and then finally actually deploying that model in production and monitoring and seeing how it works, right? The last category that we have is what we call AI services. So these are higher level services where you that are specific for a use case where you don't need to know any machine learning to use them. So maybe starting from this side, Amazon Recognition is a service where you feed it an image or a video, and it can detect what is in that image. So, for example, you go outside, you take a picture of your car, and you feed that picture to Recognition. It can tell you that there is a picture in this image. Maybe the car is red or black. And maybe also it can detect whether it's a Volkswagen or Dacia or whatever. And you get this ability to say how many labels you want Recognition to give you and what kind of trust it has that that's an accurate label. And again, you don't need to know any kind of image processing or computer vision or anything like that. This is a service that does everything for you. You feed it an image and it gives you back the results. Another set of really popular services are for speech to text or text to speech, and here we have Amazon Polly, Amazon Transcribe, Translate. So for example, we use this in our blog post. We use Polly to transcribe a blog post into an audio recording, right? And for example, there are some people that prefer listening to an article or maybe even to a book instead of writing, instead of reading it. Amazon Translate, the name says it all. You can use this service to translate between different languages, and Amazon Text Track to extract text. And by the way, this is something that I'm quite proud of. Amazon Polly actually supports Romanian as well, and some of the other services also support Romanian. So if there's like a use case where you wanna where you wanna read something and verbalize it in Romanian, you do have this possibility. And a lot of other services in this space. As you can see, we also launched a couple of new ones. So this is actually quite fresh, 2 months ago. And in general, I would say that Amazon Web Services sees AI and ML as a strategic space where we invest a lot of our development time, where a lot of clients bring us feedback, and this is why you see so many services on this slide. Any kind of question maybe on this side, any kind of service that you've maybe heard or used or want to use?
Well, I suppose Amazon Transcribe Medical is to turn recipes from written into digital format.
So this is specific for medical kind of use cases. So the reason why there is like a separate kind of service for that is because for medical records you cannot just translate them as is, right? There's a lot of understanding on what actually some of the phrases means. It is very specific to that environment, so that's why it's kind of like treated as a different service or a different feature. It doesn't work the same as for regular kind of documents. It's a very specific field.
Okay, thanks.
Hello.
Yep.
First of all, thanks for joining us. I just have a question regarding the frameworks. So what I can see is TensorFlow and PyTorch. Is there such one of those preferred by Amazon, or because now when I guess the gap difference between both of them in 2021 is really reduced. So can you briefly tell us where is each applicable or something like this? And thanks.
Thanks for the question. I would say we don't have a preference to quickly answer your question. We support all the framework, the major ones. We don't have any kind of preference. But what I can say is, judging from my experience, up to maybe again 2 years ago, TensorFlow was definitely the most popular one. Like everyone was doing TensorFlow, but for about 2 years now, I kind of seen people actually look at PyTorch more. I don't know if there's like a specific reason. It's just like a popularity thing, or if there's like a trend, but I can definitely see more PyTorch being used than maybe TensorFlow in the past. Okay, let me just double check if no one has written me a question here. Okay, I have no questions. Perfect. So let me just get back. All right. So with regards to machine learning, if if you've actually done any sort of machine learning development, you've seen that sometimes it's like a really complex and sometimes costly process. And there's, different types of barriers to adoption. So, first you need to get like good data. You need to, you need to label that data in a correct way. You need to, prepare it so it's in a good format, clean it. And then there's other things that you need to do before you start the actual work. So, checking if you have the right number of features, if you need maybe more features that you don't currently have, or maybe if you can actually ditch some of them. Checking for bias, picking the right algorithm. Sometimes it can be quite clear the algorithm do you want to use. Sometimes it's a question of which one is going to give you the best results. And then finally, training that models, making sure that you get the right results, and again, deploying into production once that's once everything is ready. And here is where SageMaker, again, the product that I mentioned before, helps you. This is really like a service we build from the ground up, and it gives every developer or data scientist, or makes it really easy for them to build, train, and deploy machine learning models. And it's also like very easy to use. The cost is very attractive. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars or anything like that. And again, it's one of the services that we develop heavily. Excuse me. Just because we see a lot of new use cases where we can add value, and also because it's based on feedback from clients. Amazon AWS is a company that is very much driven by feedback, and I always tell my clients, tell me what you'd like to see in this service. Because I have the ability to go to the development team in Seattle or whatever and say, I have this client, they want to, do this. Is this a feature that you have reviewed? Is this something that maybe you can, bring for my customer as well? Okay, and maybe just to give you some kind of common use cases or scenarios where SageMaker is heavily used. So maybe starting from stuff like demand forecast. So this is something that is very often you see this in retail environments where you need to understand how much TVs will I need to prepare or have in my depot, so I can, you know, have them ready for people that buy them. Manufacturing as well. So this is very important. You don't want to have, you know, too many items being stocked, because then you pay for storage, but you also don't want to have you know, products that are not ready for your or your customers, right? Like they want to buy it, but you don't have it on stock. The similar other case is fraud detection. So, you know, especially in the financial services, this is a very important thing. You know, banks have millions of transactions every day. How do you know which ones are fraudulent, right? Unless you are running some sort of fraud detection systems, then you're exposing yourself as a bank to a lot of troubles. And there's some, you know, well-known cases of banks that have been used for illegal purposes, and you end up paying, you know, very big fines to the government. Other use cases are, you know, very popular: autonomous driving. So, you know, you might be building something in that space, but you always need to train your models. You know, how do you make sure that the machine detects an incoming car or an incoming you know, pedestrian, someone on a bike? You always need to train those models and continuously improve them. And a few other you know, use cases: prediction maintenance, computer vision, and so forth. So, you know, really there, I would say almost any kind of use case is something where you can use SageMaker. I've seen, you know, a lot of people use it for different kind of purposes. All right, any kind of questions so far on SageMaker?
The credit risk and the fraud in financial services, what language usually people use to build the application?
I would say the most popular one is definitely Python. So I don't know if this is something that is being studied at school. When I was a student, I don't think we had any Python back then in school. No.
Right. I had a talk with Juliana. I hope she's still in the call. Yes, she is. And we want to deploy a lab application. We have a model in Python, but we would like to switch it to Spark, for example, because Python is not so known in Polytechnica, indeed. Yeah, work in progress.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is, you know, something where we meaning Romanian, you know, developers, whatever, are trailing the other markets. But I can definitely say that, you know, this is like the most widely used language nowadays. Personally, I don't have a preference to it. There's some stuff that I like about Python, some stuff that I don't like, but I would definitely, you know, want to see that being studied or expect to be studied in school besides Java and maybe C#. So it's definitely the language of the future, maybe. All right, so just a couple of you know, learning resources if you're interested in this space that I want to highlight. And the first one is actually a YouTube video. So if you go to YouTube and type AWS Romania, you'll actually see that we have a channel and a couple of webinars recorded already. And this is a webinar done by one of my colleagues, Mihai Angel. It's in Romanian. Apologies for people that are not native, where he also talks about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So there's like a link if you want to visit it. I definitely suggest that you review it. There's also other webinars in the channel, so not just these services. We cover other services as well, and we do the content in Romanian just so it's easier for people to understand. And if you're interested, make sure that you subscribe, and we'll we keep adding content all the time. Just for your information, we will actually have like I think a new webinar in about 2 weeks time. So that's also going to be on YouTube going forward. Next, I want to mention the AWS free tier. So the free tier is basically a set of services and products that you can use for free in AWS. There are some restrictions, of course. But for example, you can use SageMaker within some limitations for free for 2 months. So maybe you have like a project at school and you want to use SageMaker to do the machine learning part. Definitely, I would suggest that you look into that. It's quite easy to use. The learning curve is not that big, and you can also use this free tier for other services like EC2, S3, and so forth. And if maybe you want to do like your end of year dissertation or license on AWS, please reach out to your professors and tell them you want to do this. We are happy to help you with credits and accounts to get you started, so you can learn more about AWS. Finally, there's also some training resources online. So we have some courses that you can do for free online. Just go to aws.training and you can see the whole list of courses. This covers everything from big data, machine learning, migrations, everything. And in the future, if you're interested, you can also get a certification. I remember when I was a student, I did my first certification. It was like a Cisco certification back then, and it really helped me with conversations with companies I was interviewing with, because besides the projects I did for school, I also had this industry recognized certification, and this helped me to land my first job, and from there on I kept growing. So if time permits, look at certification. It doesn't necessarily have to be AWS one, but definitely they help you in your career. And then another set of resources are, for the educate space. So these are a set of trainings that are specific to education space, or like students and high school pupils. And you can also get like some credits for that as well. So it's $100 that you can get and use within your account. And there's also some additional trainings and content that is available to you. Just do a quick search for AWS Educate. You'll get this page, and then you can sign up for that. There is like a verification process. We need to verify that you're a student, so we need to use like a faculty provided email. But once that's done, you get these credits, and you can use those for whatever you want. Right. So it's about 10 minutes until 6. I don't know if maybe we also have time for the demo. I don't want to keep you longer than needed. If not, I'll be happy to answer questions for 10 minutes. Maybe that's more interesting.
Right. Thank you, Dragos. Guys, do you have questions? Now is the time.
So if you want, you can also write to me on the chat. I know some people don't want to ask questions, so everyone can hear it. I've had this as well. So just write to me on Teams if you want. And by the way, sorry, yeah.
I have a question. Maybe Edward, do you think of any questions? You promised maybe to consolidate some questions, but until then, we had a discussion earlier today about people still using MapReduce, or most of the people now move to Spark, and would like to get your perception in terms of elastic MapReduce. What is the trend here? If you can share with us some ideas, some hints. I mean, still using Hive and the classical MapReduce, or more and more people is moving towards stream processing?
I would say Hive. I kind of don't see that very often nowadays, unless there is like some sort of team that have always been using it and like it. I would say maybe the most popular ones are Spark and Presto, but I can't say that one is better than the other, right? There's pros and cons to each framework, but that's kind of what I see of people that are getting into this now, big data space. They usually prefer Spark or Presto.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, it's Eugen Stoica. I also have a question about languages used in SageMaker. So I was curious to know, for autonomous driving, what language is the most used?
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll do a quick demo of SageMaker, just so you guys can see the the console. Just bear with me 1 sec. I need to exit this. Essentially, it's Python, right? So again, I said it a few times that Python is popular, and that's kind of why I recommend that you learn it. Just bear with me. I'm just sharing my screen now. Okay. So hopefully you can see my desktop. This is like a browser page, right? Okay, so maybe I'll show you first the console. So this is the AWS console. We have a lot of services. Don't mind this. You don't need to know everything. And within SageMaker, we have this SageMaker Studio part. And here we have other, let's say, services connected to SageMaker. So for example, ground truth. For example, let's say, you're doing, I don't know, recognizing cats in pictures, right? You have a catalog of 1 million pictures that you want to see. Are there actually pictures in those images? And you can do two things. You can use ground truth to look for specific things in a picture, let's say, and you can also have a human being label your do labeling, right? So for example, if you want to process a huge amount of data, you can give it to the SageMaker ground truth service, and it will give you results. But if you want to have more confidence in those results, you can actually get a human, like outsource it to a human as well. It's quite a nice service. And just to jump into SageMaker Studio, excuse me. I'm sure you're familiar with maybe some of this code, like this is Python code. Maybe just let me jump. Oh, apologies. This is Python code, right? So if you work with Python before, it's the same in SageMaker as well. And over here I have a notebook that is already populated with some commands, as you can see here, and it's quite easy for me to run them. So Apologies, by the way, if I'm jumping too fast. It's this like, you know, I want to run this block of code. You know, I do that. I maybe need to import some sort of libraries to do my machine learning processing. And this was actually an example that I had prepared for you, and it's related to direct marketing. So this is actually based on a data set by these gentlemen. This is for use cases where you need to sell to clients, right? Over the phone maybe, and there is like a data set from about 6 years ago that actually has some of these data points. And again, I don't maybe want to do this now when time is almost up, because it takes me about 20 minutes to run through this, but it's very easy to use SageMaker, right? I run every block, you know, it gives me the results, and there's also like some explanations here to understand what's happening, right? I'll actually give you the link to this, so you can also independently, you know, do this machine learning example. It's very nice for you to understand how SageMaker works and how easy it is to use. Do you maybe have experience with Jupyter notebooks?
No, I don't think so.
A little bit.
Okay. You know, I would say this is the most widely used kind of way that I see to share, you know, commands and results nowadays. It's you know, uses Python, which is a preferred language by the academic environment. I'll be sure to include this link as well. So if you want, you can do the lab.
Okay.
Thank you.
And apologies, maybe I think you've mentioned this, but which year are you in? Is it like a graduation year, like final year, or do you still have?
It's master first year.
Okay, first year, right. So probably you're already starting to think of a project for your thesis, I assume.
Yeah, the research activity is already started. They should present a report on the 8th of February, if I'm not wrong. So it's pretty advanced. By the way, do you have also a training data set for card fraud?
Card fraud, not one that I would be able to give you right now, but probably there are some. Yeah, I can. Let me make a note, and I'll try to include that as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we are getting to the end. Let's try to take a last question if there is any. Guys, ladies, guys.
Yes. Sorry for interrupting you, Professor. Hello,
Go ahead.
Dragos, and thank you for joining us today. Also, many thanks to Liviu. What I would like to ask you is something more personal rather than professional, but what made you do what are you doing right now? What was a decision that made you join Amazon and do what are you doing?
Well, I would say that since I graduated, so since 2011, I also worked in the university a little bit, but in the last 10 years or so, I've did, at least 2 or 3 career changes. So when I was in school, I wanted to be like a network administrator. That's why I did the Cisco certification. But once I actually started to do the job, I saw that the potential is much larger. So I started to look at Microsoft and administering systems, and I did that for a couple of years. And then I saw 2014, 2015 that cloud is it's not just something you hear on the web anymore. It's happening. So I did a shift in that space as well. I think that's maybe something that you should kind of consider. You won't be doing in 5 years what you will do at your first job. The IT or technology space changes so fast that and you have to change with that as well.
I think I'll also answer this question. For me, joining Amazon, this was in 2019. After spending 16 years working for Oracle, I've been doing in Oracle all the difficult things that were not Oracle database. So everything that is not database, it was very challenging. I like to be challenged. And in the last years in Oracle, I was working on cloud, and Oracle was a pioneer in cloud at that time. So after 16 years, I took the decision to join the leader in cloud. And also it was a great opportunity to open the new AWS office in Bucharest. So this was the main reason for me to join AWS.
Which actually, these are great news for our colleagues, our students, because, okay, it's nice to mention, and thank you for that, that there are 2 research facilities and you are hiring. So maybe some people will think about this opportunity, which is great because this is the coolest technology available. And they have a chance to work on development, which is again the very coolest thing possible, for young graduates, I would say. The other thing is in sales, which is another good opportunity for people which are not so technical, but they like connecting with people and doing the pre-sales job maybe, or even the sales, technical sales like cloud needs. Okay, so
Exactly.
Dragos and Liviu, really thank you very much for this opportunity, and hopefully we can extend our cooperation in the future.
Yeah,
We'll be glad.
We're really hopeful we can do some in-person events as well once the situation improves. So yeah, hopefully we'll do something in next semester or so.
Okay, cool.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you a lot. All the best
Dan.
to you. Good health, and we keep in touch.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.